Guys, I'm Si. Welcome back to Cardiff City World. Welcome back to the channel. Good to have you. This is a brand new episode of the Spotlight, and it's something that we've alluded to, we've discussed in the live shows. So I thought, why don't we break it all down? Why don't we have a look at some of the data? We compare some of the skill sets, the traits, and we see if it's actually a feasible conversation to have, or if it's just a bit of a pipe dream as we look at some of Cardiff City's midfield problems, shall we say. But I don't think it's a problem. Look, we're top of the league. It's not a massive negative, but I think it's an interesting conversation to have nonetheless. So today we're going to break down whether Gabriel Osho should or could move into the number 6 role or the holding midfielder role in Brian Barry Murphy's Cardiff City side. We're going to use real data from matches. We're going to look at FBref, FotMob, SofaScore. Of course, we're going to use the eye test and look at the standout performance at Wigan and the costly errors against Leyton Orient and nearly Reading. And we're going to compare him directly to Ryan Wintle in terms of his skill set, who's formed an excellent base at the base of this Cardiff City midfield. Could Osho's pace, his physicality, his ball carrying give Cardiff something new in that position? Or would it risk upsetting the balance of the team? We're going to explore the full stats, the tactical insight, the honest, fan-led analysis, as always, as you will only find on Cardiff City World. So let's get into it. Strap in, let's go. So, first up, bit of context. Cardiff City, under Brian Barry Murphy, have begun life in League One pretty good, pretty well. The ambition to bounce back into the Championship has been fairly evident in the way we've played, at least. Maybe not in our transfer business, but the way we've played, I think, is fair. We're looking to get up this year. The team's form has been strong, although recently has been a little bit inconsistent, with those midfield gaps causing a little bit of apprehension in fans. We're going to examine 3 of the most recent matches of note. We're going to look at 2 main protagonists in terms of Gabriel Osho, can he do it, how he's done, etc. And then we're also going to have a little bit of a look at Ryan Wintle, who's been very, very reliable, hasn't really done anything wrong. And we'll see where we go from there. We got a good one, a shaky one, and a bit of a hairy one. Let's go. So, I think the good one. Wigan away. Cardiff City travelled to Wigan, secured a 2-0 win. And in that match, Ryan Wintle got a 7.8. Very, very solid performance. That was per FotMob. So in this one, Osho got a 7.6 in central defence in the same game. So this suggests that both were very influential in that performance. It was a professional performance. Cardiff probably should have been a couple more up in the first half. However, I thought this was probably Gabriel Osho's best game in a Cardiff City shirt. I actually thought he was excellent in this game. And it's really fascinating because the next game, he was not good at all. Like, remotely. The Leyton Orient game was a big problem. I've labelled it the hairy one. Because Leyton Orient, it was an all-time clanger of a performance. You know, a thrilling game for the neutral, but it was a bit of a disgraceful performance, if we're honest. We should have dealt with Leyton Orient much better than we did. The midfield was a bit open. Ryan Wintle played 65 minutes at a rating of 6.7. Osho played 90 minutes somehow, I do not know, at a rating of 6, which I think is generous because, as I said in my match review or the breakdown of that game, it was an all-time clanger of a performance. It was terrible. He gave away big chances. He gave away the ball consistently. He gave them a goal. He nearly did it again in the second half. He left us so vulnerable to the point where in the second half, every time he got the ball, the fans took a big, deep sigh, which you could hear around the stadium because you just thought he was going to do it again. And actually in the second half, when he was the final or the last defender, he had the ball and he tried to dribble through 2 strikers and nearly lost it. And I think Nathan Trott helped him out. And then you have the Reading game. He did some good stuff. He came off at half-time, rightly. He started the game okay, won some really good headers, and his ball playing was okay. But you always feel like he's a little bit of concentration away from a big clanger. And halfway through the first half, I don't know what time it was, but at some point in the first half, around the middle, he's in the left back position in his own area. He gets pressed and he just passes it into the penalty spot. But Nathan Trott's not there. Nathan Trott's in his goal, wants the ball to feet. The other Chambers is at the other side waiting for the ball, and Osho just plays it into space in the middle of the box, and their striker is in. He thinks he's scored. The Reading striker thinks he's scored. He thinks he's making it 6-6. Nathan Trott, luckily for Osho and luckily for Cardiff, was absolutely like Usain Bolt off his line, and he makes himself big and he saves the day. After that apprehensive sigh every time he got the ball was back. And Brian Barry Murphy rightly made the decision to bring Will Fish on at half time, which steadied us down at the back. Osho at centre back has been, I can't even say inconsistent, because actually when he's been good, he's been very good, but when he's been bad, he has conceded big chances, big goals, and it has cost us. My opinion, as you all know, is Will Fish, Dylan Lawler all day and twice on Sundays. But Dylan Lawler, Will Fish both have kind of niggly injuries that maybe means you've got to manage their minutes a bit. So let's take them out of the cup games. Callum Chambers has impressed me with his application. He got dropped from the side earlier in the season and he's come back with a much better, I wouldn't even say attitude, because I've never thought his attitude was bad. I mean, maybe the Newport game, but that wasn't just him. That was an overall attitude thing from the senior players. I don't think it was an attitude thing. I think it was an application and a concentration thing when he was making errors. The one thing I'd like to see from Callum Chambers is just move the ball quicker, because he has the ball playing ability. Just move it quicker. But anyway, back to Osho. Wintle was an unused sub against Reading, and Reading took the lead. Cardiff responded, but there were signs of that underlying fragility in the midfield and in the defensive layers. Osho played 45 minutes, 6.5 generously, was taken off for Will Fish. Wintle didn't come on. The lineup, look, Osho, as I said, he started all right and then got worse. Could you say that their defence was exposed a little bit because Ryan Wintle wasn't on the pitch? Maybe, although I'm not entirely convinced by that argument, because David Turnbull actually did all right at number 6, so I don't think that was it. The problems which Gabriel Osho had were from his own concentration. Now, some people will say, and I know a few people will say, why are we fitting a midfielder into a defender into a midfield? I'm fed up. I want to see round pegs, round holes. Well, Gabriel Osho has played in number 6 before. He's done it before. So that in itself, he is a kind of central defender, stroke central or holding midfielder. He has the skill sets, in my opinion. But how does he stack up in this system? Will he be able to have the concentration levels, etc.? And will it help the team, anchor the team a little bit more reliably? Or will it give us a different avenue to Ryan Wintle? Because you need more than one number 6. Ryan Wintle, Joel Bagan, they can't all play every single minute of every single game. We need alternatives. But let's look at it. Gabriel Osho, he is listed predominantly as a centre-back for Cardiff. According to his FotMob profile, 25-26 season. He's played 300 odd minutes. He's averaged about 6.5. Now, 6.5 seems to be what they give if you just have a pretty average performance, which indicates that he's been pretty average. He has won 18 duels, which is about 75%, and he's won 76.9% of his aerial duels. He's also recorded 5 block shots, 5 tackles, 11 recoveries being the important one, and conceded 1 penalty. In the passing and carrying department, he's been decent, I think is fair to say. He handles a modest volume of balls with high accuracy. His passes hit are pretty good. The eye test reinforces that. Like when you watch him, he's quick, He's physically strong. He's good in the air. He covers ground quickly. It's almost like when he doesn't have time to think about it, he's fine. When he has that bit of time to think is when he seems to have these brain fades, which is definitely an issue. His performance in the Wigan game, which was an away game at centre-back, was definitely one of his best in Cardiff shirt to date. His carrying out, his ball playing, his transitional play, his duel winning, everything was excellent. Conversely, in the Leyton Orient game, which is the next game he played, he was exposed for lack of concentration. Positionally got caught out a little bit, and obviously he plays a back pass straight to their striker. So it all is a part of the assessment. Ryan Wintle, on the other hand, has been very, very reliable all season. He is the established number 6 for Cardiff, or the defensive midfielder. He's played 11 matches, 890 minutes, averages 7.23. Now, we talked about Joe Bagan just banging out a 7 out of 10 every week, being exactly what you need. I would argue even more so in this system, you want your number 6 to be banging out a 7 out of 10 every week, with the occasional, 8 or 9. He scored 1 goal, 2 assists recorded. He appears in the club stats. He has about 53.5 accurate passes per 90 minutes, with a pass success of 87.3%. He also averages 1.3 interceptions per 90 minutes. Again, good traits to have in that defensive midfield role. Then you look at his touches. He has a high percentage of that. He's won 79% of his aerial duels, Ryan Wintle, which is actually quite high because he's a bit shorter than Osho. He's created 53% of chances. The eye test says, look, this. Wintle sits in front of the back line. He breaks up play. He sweeps up. He does the dirty work. He covers for his teammates. He recycles possession really nicely and links defence to attack in a disciplined manner without being massively progressive. He's definitely less explosive than Osho, but he has definitely been doing a good job, very reliable job. So let's compare their skill sets a little bit, side by side traits of each, if you like. Positioning and discipline first. And this is where Ryan Wintle excels, right? His role as a sitting midfielder means he reads the game, he holds his shape, he covers the back line, but by contrast, Osho is still evolving. If he steps into midfield, I think it'll be a bit easier for him in terms of his positional play because he's just got to sit in front of the 2 centre-backs and then react. So I think that suits him because he reads the game out of possession. He gets across ground quick, particularly the first 5 or 6 yards. He's aggressive and he's physical. But he would have to probably improve his awareness of what's behind him and what's around him when he's on the ball, I would say is fair. Ball carrying, progressive passes, transitioning. Now this is the one where I think Osho has a clear edge. His pace, his willingness to pick up the ball and carry it into space or to carry from deep, that gives him a dynamic impact. Wintle is a bit more conservative when it comes to carrying the ball. He's more just about safe linkage of the play rather than explosive movement or, progressive passing as such. The physicality, the aerial, the duels. Osho wins, I think, heavily in just raw physicality, raw physical duels. 75% duel win rate, 76.9 in the aerial duel in just 300 minutes. Wintle has an aerial duel rate of 79%. So he's actually got a higher aerial duel rate than Osho, but at a shorter height. Obviously has a lot more touches and things like that. Ryan Wintle is strong. I think he's less raw and less aggressive in his movement and his physicality, which isn't the worst thing. But it's also tools for jobs. Sometimes we might need the intelligence and the reading of the game of a Ryan Wintle who just recycle the ball, read it, blah, blah, blah. But then other games, maybe we've lacked over the recent years is someone in the centre of midfield, like an Olifanjana, just as an example, who actually, look, I think Osho is a far superior technical footballer to Ollie, but Olifanjana was that monster when you needed that physicality, that aggression, just that raw aggressive physicality and pace. I know Oliver and John and that, but Osho's got pace to cover ground quickly. If he's out of position or the team is caught in transition, he can get there quickly. Experience in the role and tactical awareness. Now, obviously, experience in the role. Wintle's played far more games as a number 6. Far more games. And indeed in midfield. So Wintle wins that hands down. But he's been number 6 all season. He's going to be. He understands the manager's system, the demands of the manager. Osho would be adapting from a centre-back to a defensive midfielder. Now, he has done it before. Not for a massive amount of time, but he's done it. And I think he understands it enough. It is slightly different cues, though. Different positioning, different pressing angles, different passing angles. The cover behind. And then you go to risks and errors. Now, look, Osho's got a more adventurous style. He looks to carry the ball, he looks to move the ball, he looks to be aggressive in the way he passes, he looks to progress the ball. If he's in midfield, he's going to get things like counter runs and he's going to get pressed and he's going to vacate certain space if he carries the ball. The Leyton Orient game itself flagged 3 goals conceded that we need a bit of protection sometimes. So Osho can give that, but he can also leave us a bit exposed if he carries the ball and loses it. We saw that with Chambers the other week. Whereas Wintle's more conservative way of playing and doing that role means fewer big mistakes. Fewer times he's going to lose the ball, give the ball away, and he's certainly not going to vacate his position that often. So there's a bit of an upside to both and a bit of a downside to both. Again, I say, surely it's about the opposition. What do you need for this game? Maybe there's a game where you need both. I don't know. Then we look at the tactical fit under Brian Barry Murphy. Now, under Cardiff system under Brian Barry Murphy, there's clearly a tactical idea, there's a shape, there's a way we like to do things. Does that suit Osho in the number 6? What would he bring to the role? What would we lose by not having Wintle there? And so on. The current system, BBM likes to dominate higher up, press proactively, and have a mix of ball playing and physical robustness. He likes counter pressing, he likes pressing, and he likes to turn over the ball high up the pitch. We see this by the shape with Joel Colwell and Ruben so high. And then he looks for someone in the midfield to be linking, carrying and pressing. If we look at the club stats for 25-26, Cardiff's pass success rate, accurate passes per 90, transition speed are all high up on the agenda. So it's fascinating to see, because I do think that Osho can bring something to it. So when we look at what he can bring, his pace, his ability to carry in transition when shifting from defence to attack, Osho can inject that ball carrying from deep. If he sees a space in front of him, he's going into it with the ball. He breaks lines with his passing and his ball carrying. That's a dimension that Cardiff don't have in that position at the moment, and it's something that they can exploit, particularly against low blocks and teams that are going to try and sit in and frustrate Cardiff. It's League One, it's going to be physical, it's going to be very transitional in nature in terms of the games. So these are small advantages in having ball carriers deep in the pitch, or having a Dylan Lawler in defence who can break lines with his passing. They're massive to breaking teams down. He gives a physical presence in midfield. He's 1.85 metres, I think that's 6'3", is it? He's strong. It'll allow Cardiff to win a lot of the second balls and dominate the physical midfield battles. Tactical flexibility. Having a centre-back drop in there, as we saw with Callum Chambers last year, it allows slight system tweaks. You can switch to a back 3 in possession. You can push forward. You can allow the fullbacks to go right up, because you've effectively got 3 centre-backs sat in. He's a different threat profile to Wintle. Wintle sits and distributes, recycles, reads the game, breaks it up. Osho stepping in gives a lot of those traits, but he also will add a bit more of a dynamic thrust into that area, both in and out of possession. Now, what might we lose, or what are the risks with Gabriel Osho in the midfield? Well, the big one is loss of positional discipline. If he doesn't get it right and he's going to leave a very young centre-back pairing most of the time exposed. Full-backs are going to be up, and then you've got a big problem. The Leyton Orient game recently, the Reading game recently, saw what happens when we get turned over quickly and the midfielders and the full-backs are high up. It leaves us exposed. Ryan Wintle's reliability in that role does protect that a little bit. He's comfortable, he's experienced, and he understands his job in the team. Could there be a disruption to the defensive communication and network by him being in there? The back line, the midfield, they've got a bit of an understanding. They're used to Ryan Wintle being in front of them. If Osho's suddenly in there, does that become a bit disruptive? I don't know. Does it alter the structure too much? I would argue in many ways it doesn't too much. They should be familiar enough with him. You look at the load and the adaptation time. Although Osho has done the role before, which we're going to talk about in a minute, he's not done it consistently throughout his career, and he's not done it at Cardiff at all yet. So he would require some training, some time to understand what the manager wants and to understand his role within the team. Ryan Wintle, he already knows his role like the back of his hand. So there's definitely an interesting conversation to be had there, and I'm really interested in what you guys think about it. Let me know in the comments, like, where do you stand on it? So just looking at some of these most recent games, Leyton Orient, Leyton Orient scored 3, we scored 4. In that match, Wintle played 65 minutes, Osho played 90. Osho's performance was well below what you'd expect. There was definite vulnerability there. But he also did some good stuff in and around the horrific things that he did do. Towards the end of the game, he made some massive interceptions and blocks with his reading of the game. Maybe if that's a bit higher up the pitch, that gives you a little bit more in the transition and in the battle. And also, if he's higher up and does give the ball away, you've got, at least he's not like through on the keeper. Osho in the number 6 instead of the back line could well be the answer both to Cardiff City's midfield issues, but also the anxiety of having Gabriel Osho in the back 4 as well. Conceivably, his ability to carry the ball and step up, it might actually really help the midfield and help us pin teams back and help us unlock low blocks, win midfield battles. You look at the size. If you had Osho, Ruben and one other in the midfield, you've got 2 6'4+ guys in midfield who can actually put themselves about a little bit. Away at Wigan, I thought Osho did well. Reading, it was the right call to take him out of the firing line for sure. But I want to summarise the pros, the cons of moving Osho into the 6. Pros: he adds pace, physicality, ball carrying from deep. He's got a 75% dual win rate, 76 aerial win rate. He presses high. He's got the pass accuracy in short passes. He can give a dynamic element to Cardiff's midfield from deep, and it gives you a different tactical weapon. Wintle does the sit and pass role really well, but Osho offers just something a little bit different, a little bit more physical. He's versatile. Osho has done that 6 before at Luton. He isn't completely new to it, and that prior experience can give Brian Barry Murphy a little bit of comfort if he was to try him in that role. The cons: well, you've got the risk of destabilisation of the team. I think that's definitely a conversation that would need to be had. Osho stepping up means, or we have to make sure that it doesn't mean that we end up exposing the defence and the young players because the fullbacks are up and he's lost the ball in a silly place. We've seen it in defence. We don't want to see it in those sort of certain situations. Plus, by putting Osho in there, you lose Ryan Wintle's experience. He's got 11 starts this season, but by and large, he has been the oldest player in the team, the most experienced one, keeping the younger boys ticking over. Is it a bigger adaptation required for the Osho to do it than we need at this point? Should we be doing something that could be so risky at this point? the number 6 role under Brian Barry Murphy is anything but passive. So Osho would have to read the game well. He'd have to sort out the pressing triggers, the angles of passing, and the timing of his carries. And Osho, whilst they're strong in numbers, Osho's numbers are strong. The sample size is small for the season, really. He's a new player to the team. We give him time to settle, but there's certainly a chance that if he was to make the similar sort of errors in that number 6 role, it could cause an equal amount of problems. They're just not going to be in on goal. What would need to happen for it to work? Well, we need the structured cover behind him. We need a regular back 4. Osho pushes into that midfield. Then we need the centre-backs, the full-backs to be settled and ready, and everybody understand their role. He needs to have the midfield shape, the discipline. If he is the number 6, his number 8 partner has to do their role very well, and he has to understand that he needs to sit and do his job. The transition side of things, his ball carrying is a strength that we must take advantage of, but also his explosive pace when we lose the ball is something that we absolutely need to take advantage of. Could you do a gradual integration of him into the 6, whereby, Wintle plays, you give him 70 minutes, and then you bring Osho in the 6 for the last few minutes to get him used to the role? I think that's a possibility. And then obviously training and communicating what would be expected of him in that role. And as I said, Osho played as a number 6 for Nathan Jones back in 2021. Nathan Jones actually really fancied him in that role. He had a standout display versus Sheffield United playing in that role. And whilst it was an untested experiment, it was regarded as a wholehearted success. So he's done it, and he's done it well, is the other side of that. Could Gabriel Osho move into the number 6 role? The short answer is yes, he could. And arguably, probably should be considered at least. But Ryan Wintle offers a lot of positives to this team. I believe that Gabriel Osho as an option as a number 6, depending on the opposition, depending on the game state, could be a massive plus to this team. It brings physicality, it brings pace, it brings aggressiveness, it brings ball carrying ability. But you can't ignore the fact that his concentration levels are sometimes off. Would he be better or worse in midfield with that regard, or within that regard? Maybe better because he hasn't got to think about it. He hasn't got time to think about it. He reads the game relatively well when he's sort of out of possession. On the other side, it could cost you, and you could expose your young defence to even more punishment. I'm interested in what you guys think. That's my deep dive into could Gabriel Osho do the number 6 role. I want you to let me know in the comments. I want to really start a discussion with this. Let's get into detail. Don't just give it yes, no. Let's give me context. Give me, yeah, I think so because I think we lack blah, blah, blah. Or no, it's too much of a risk because of it, etc. Like, I need to hear your views. I want to have a discussion about this. I think it's a really interesting conversation starter. And that's what we're about. Bluebirds Conversations, 7 days a week. All day, every day, baby. Now we love it. Thank you so much for the support. Keep the faith. And I'll see you in a bit. This channel is powered by an incredible membership community on Cardiff City World and patreon.com/AcePodcastNation. Becoming a member unlocks exclusive rewards from early access to live event tickets, bonus content, and even the occasional inside transfer scoop when we get it. But more importantly, it allows us to bring you top quality Cardiff City content 7 days a week. Across those 7 days, we're talking match previews, exclusive interviews, instant match reactions, the breakdown podcast, tactical deep dives, the Spotlight series, Bluebirds Rewind, Academy Focus, and just so much more. Led by myself, backed by an army of passionate Cardiff City fans, this is content created by fans for fans. Balanced, professional, and 100% all about the club we all love. If you enjoy what we do, then join the community today and support what we are doing as we help to keep Cardiff City World flying high.